One of the biggest superpowers that we can have is knowing ourselves inside and out. When you truly know yourself, you can show up in life more secure, more confident, and not let yourself be stirred away from your authenticity and be led astray. Being grounded in your true self is extremely empowering. I think it's the natural human process of belonging and evolving as well to, at some point in our life, usually childhood, before we forge our own values and interests and our own compass, we, me, you, others, I think everyone, you thought that mimicking your environment, your surroundings, instead of expressing the true authentic parts of yourself, would make you feel more included, more at home, more like you were part of something, part of a group. And if we go back to history, back to caveman times, belonging to a group was part of survival. If you couldn't go and hunt and find water and building shelter, creating a fire, all of that, all by yourself, you needed to be part of a group that was literally the condition to your own survival. So we kept this mentality throughout, once again, for your own survival, but a different kind of survival. But in reality, since suppressing, consciously or unconsciously, most probably unconsciously, the true part of yourself, it never really changed anything in regards to how people treat you, besides making you feel even more alone inside. I believe that we are the product of our environment until we decide to choose what's best for us. And in that process, self-awareness is literally everything. It's the element that triggers that awakening and that helps realize that the belonging feeling that is inherently part of being a human on this planet doesn't have to be at the sake of being our true self, our authentic self, and being accepted as such. Because until we become self-aware, we cannot know who we truly are. And being able to express the repressed part that want to shine, but sometimes you're not even aware of them. And it ends up becoming an internal struggle. Welcome to Conscious Matters. I'm Melissa. On this channel, I talk about conscious living through empowerment and holistic wellness, especially mindfulness. The Be Yourself movement has grown so much throughout the years, which is amazing. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are still wondering, what does that even mean? I'm being myself. I'm not hiding or anything, but unconsciously, so many things are happening. And I believe self-awareness is everything in finding our true authentic self, which ultimately leads us to regaining confidence, regaining our power back. There's so many ways and so many tools that we can use to develop self-awareness, but there are three that are, first of all, super easy to use and apply in our lives. And second of all, I think they are the great way to start with cultivating self-awareness. So the first one is to discover yourself. It sounds weird, especially when you are at a certain age, when you in your mid-20s, your 30s, your 40s even, and you lived with that one identity your whole life. And it can feel like that you know yourself, but is it your true self, or is it the identity that you built based on your surroundings, your upbringing, your friends, your studies, your job? Is your identity parts of elements and behaviors from all of these different sources that I stated? Or is it the result of what's been expected out of you? Or is it truly who you are at the core? I think that we don't ask ourselves these existential questions too often. When in social settings, maybe at a party, at a gathering, at a dinner, when you meet new people, the first question after your name, and sometimes literally the first question even before your name, is what do you do? And that implies what do you do as a profession. Instead of being, we are two strangers, we are here to meet, and I would like to know you. So instead of the first thing knowing what they do as a profession, so you can unconsciously kind of try to put them in boxes. Oh, he's an accountant, So he must have this kind of living income. He might be very serious, a little bit boring, all of those stereotypes that are associated with that profession or any profession that the person will give you as an answer. And we never think of asking, who are you? I know it sounds weird to like that, like, who are you? This is such a strange question, but if we really want to build a bond with someone, to get to know someone, isn't it more important to know who they are as a person rather than what they do as a profession? When that profession can switch, people switch careers so often now that is not, I don't know, to me, it lacks substance in a way. I'm not saying that it's not important to know what the other person does, but the fact that we put that as the priority when we get to know someone, to me, it's a little bit strange. And it doesn't really show how we want to connect to one another. And I do believe that is the norm, because do we even ask ourselves that? Because you can even test that yourself. If you ask yourself, what do I do? Usually your answer is very quick, very precise, straight to the point. You know what to do. But when you ask yourself the question, how do I define myself? Is your answer as clear, as quick, as efficient as when you ask yourself the previous question about what you do? So discovering, or I would even say rediscovering ourselves, is very important. We keep on changing also through different parts of our lives. Even though our core is the same, we evolving, we growing, we have setbacks that sometimes crush parts of ourselves that we were proud of before, like, let's say, confidence, being talkative, being positive, being playful. Sometimes certain life experiences can tame that down for you. So asking ourselves that question, who are you now, is super important to develop self-awareness. So get to know who you are, just as if you're meeting someone new and you're starting this new friendship. Try to know, what are you about? What are your interests? What are your gifts? What are your skills? What are your values? What do you stand for? What really irks you and rubs you the wrong way? So once you're done rediscovering yourself, the second element, or the second step, I would even say, is a little bit redundant, but is actually the deeper phase of the step one, which is knowing yourself, knowing your strength, and knowing what are you not so great at, what are your shortcomings, which might humble you for a minute, especially when you're done with all of the positive aspects of your personality. But dive also into what are the things that you feel like you need to work on, to improve on. Because even though it humbles you to do that, it helps to capitalize on what's in flow with you against what's going against you. And helps you also to know what works for you and what is aligned with you, and how to be able to live a life which is much more intentional, much more in flow, much more enjoyable, even in the moments that are not the best. So the yin and the yang, or the in and the out of yourself, or the good and the bad, so you can be clear on what can truly propel yourself forward through your strength, which is great, and you can really double down on them. So every time that you faced with an obstacle or a challenge, you know which sword you know way to take out. But knowing what you need to improve or tweak or grow from is also very empowering, because one, you won't be as triggered when someone will point out one of your shortcomings, one of the things that you need to improve, because you already know, so it won't irk you the same way. And second of all, it's very empowering, because yes, it's hard to improve and work on things that you want to improve, but the first step is knowing what are these things. So you're crossing out the first step already. But at the end of the day, everything that is a negative trait about yourself or a flaw doesn't always need to be improved or tweaked on. Sometimes it's just a part of yourself, which is usually considered as part of your shadow, aspects of yourself that you express to protect yourself in a way. Even though it's not the best, it's still your own coping mechanism. So there are some that are unhealthy that is great to improve, but others that are just parts of who you are and who your life experiences made you to be. And these ones don't, at least to my mind, don't need to be improved. It's just a matter of accepting both the light and the dark sides of yourself, integrated, and to learn to love and appreciate both parts of yourself, your assets and your flaws, equally. And that's the part where self-love is so important, because just like we're supposed to love a child unconditionally, we're supposed to love ourselves unconditionally as well. So you cannot say, okay, I like this part of myself, but I hate that part. Don't hate on it. Don't hate on it. If you feel like you need to improve it, go and do it. But if it's like literally part of who you are, try to dive into it. Try to understand its purpose and why it's here. And then integrating it as a full part of yourself and loving it either way. So reclaim yourself, reclaim all parts of you by knowing yourself fully and entirely and completely, and loving yourself unconditionally. Exploring your own emotions and motivations will help you to do that. And the cherry on the cake, I would say, is that it will also help you to connect with others on a much, much deeper level and build a healthy, strong bond with other people. Express this new information, these facets of yourself that you discovered or rediscovered about yourself fully and entirely without limiting yourself, so you can fully live in your authenticity. We say new information or discovering, but at the end of the day, apart from new interests, everything that you will discover and know about yourself is what was already there, what was already inside yourself. So it's just expressing the deepest version of yourself that you weren't allowing yourself to do that before. So it can take a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of time, but do it. Like, unleash your potential, like try new things, and be unapologetic too on how you decide to show up as your authentic self. Let yourself flow, let yourself be free, let yourself reclaim your power and take your space. And be open to also have a deeper understanding of the world around you, so you can find your own path in this life, you can find your place, and you can take your space. And that's also why I always say, stay true. At the end of every video, I always say, stay true. Keep showing up for yourself and let your soul lead the way, because your authenticity is what will never lead you astray and is your internal compass and is literally your freedom to be and express yourself as you are. In this society where to be accepted, everyone has to be the same, strive for the same goals, the 2.1 kids, the house with the white picket fence, killing yourself at work, and only waiting until retirement to finally enjoy your life. When you're old and sometimes sick, to then only die. Yet is what is expected out of us. Especially Western society, but with the mondialization, a lot of countries, if not the majority of the countries in this world, are following that same model. So it takes courage to walk in your own shoes and to live your life and show up in life without anyone's validation. So dare to be courageous, walk in your own path, and live in your own truth. Because that's the truth, at least for you. Everyone has their own truth, and multiple truths can coexist at the same time, in the same society, on the same earth. My truth shouldn't prevent you from living your own truth, and vice versa. So I repeat, dare to be courageous, walk in your own path, and live in your own truth. We all have our place on this earth, and it's time that we reclaim that place and that we take our individual space. But beforehand, it's our responsibility to discover and know what that place is. Share in the comments, how are you cultivating more self-awareness to regain confidence, reclaim your power, and express your true self? So as always, stay true, keep showing up for yourself, and let your soul lead the way.